Hi and welcome to another episode of eCom at One. And today's guest is Stuart Maclaren. Now, Stuart is the CEO and founder of the YPP Group based in Lincolnshire. How are you doing, Stuart?
Yeah, good. A little bit weird. My office doesn't look. Should have had a branded thing here.
Yeah, you slipped up there, haven't you? Because you've probably got about 50,000 banners downstairs, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't have something behind me saying YPP.
So Stuart is based not too far away from where I'm sat right now. I think we're probably, as the crow flies, about 2-3 miles away, probably. And Stuart's very well known locally here in Lincolnshire and nationally in the UK for the Your Print partner brand. So maybe I think it'd be good, Stuart, just to kick off and give us a brief sort of journey of the YPP up to this date.
Yeah, so obviously it started from Your Print partner, which was 8 years ago now, when I was a lot younger. Life felt so much different. I could go to the pub without having to sign a form. It was kind of like normal lifestyle.
Yeah.
Although I don't know what normal is nowadays.
Yeah.
And we started as a fabric printer, kind of a little bit different to a lot of the people in the market at the time, because they were always signage printers. So we came in as a fabric printer and grew massively, actually, to become the UK's largest fabric printer. And we have a number of clients that we work with, trade and end users. And that brand carried on growing. And then about 4 years ago, crazily, always typical, your phone starts ringing. I should have put it on silent.
Don't worry.
We started with looking at our dips, because we were always outside marketing. Winter comes, or COVID-19 comes, and obviously all that stops. And being a large format printer, we didn't really have any products that people at home wanted. So it was great having all of our customer database. And then we were like, well, now it's Christmas, we'll just sit and do nothing for a couple of months.
Yeah, okay.
So I created a brand called Sanitiser, which was Hessian Sanitiser. And that's what started getting us a lot of awareness, because we took that to QVC, we took it into retailers, it went everywhere from a Hessian Sanitiser. And it was quite crazy, because we were having a really nice summer, kind of like what we've had during lockdown.
Yeah.
And I came into the office one day, and my creative director, and that was there, and I was like, I'm ordering 50,000 potato sacks. And literally my staff was like, I think Stuart's losing it. Yeah, it's all gone. His brain's gone. He's lost it. He needs to go see someone. And I said, no, I'm going to do it. And they're like, what are you going to do with a potato sack? Like, we're going to brand it up, a Hessian vintage Christmas sack. And they're like, we're talking about Christmas. It's only July, Stuart. I'm like, no. Everyone does Christmas in July. This is the new thing.
Yeah.
So I remember this container arriving about 14 weeks later, full of basically potato sacks. And they all looked at me going, yeah, he's lost his marbles. And we all got covered in Hessian offloading it. It's worse than dog hair. It gets everywhere. And you find it for months. And you think cats cough up fur balls. You should have seen what we were coughing up with these Hessian sacks. And so we started Santa Sacks. And actually, that was probably my first proper step into e-com, because Your Print partner being trade, they don't really buy online. We just get hundreds of orders a day.
Yeah. And
Santa Sacks took off really quick. We have around about 25,000 fans on Facebook now. Yeah. And Facebook just kind of snowballed for us. Everybody was like, oh my God, have you seen these? Oh my God. And it just grew bigger and bigger. And it's really bizarre, because we talk about Christmas in July now. We're already getting orders for Santa Sacks.
Wow, actual orders. That's not just you thinking about ordering stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They're already ordering, and then you get an email going, do you know when my Santa sack is coming? Well, you know we're in July, don't you?
We've got 6 months to get it to you.
Christmas is a priority at the minute, but it's as we started growing our brand, and that now does around about 100,000 orders each Christmas, which is still insane volumes of traffic. And then when I sat looking at it about 3 years ago, I was like, I like e-com. I make money while I'm asleep. And you see all these posts all over LinkedIn nowadays where it's like, to earn 100 grand a year is only equivalent to £105 an hour or something if you work more hours or something. You're like, well, you don't want to work more hours. Yeah. And then they go, well, become an e-commerce entrepreneur. And you're like, yeah, as if it was that easy. Yeah. But basically, that's where Custom Gifts, which is our new brand that sits under YPP as well. And we own licenses to Warner Brothers, to football clubs, and we have partnerships with around about 55 football clubs, Disney, chocolate brands. So it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
The volume of orders that all come in. So we started that last year.
Yeah.
And as always with e-commerce, you think you know what you're doing. Our e-commerce has to be a little bit more technical because it creates the print-ready files on the servers. So the second when our guys come in the morning, they click a button and all the orders feed into the system and everything's going to work amazingly. And then what we did was we did that typical thing that probably web entrepreneurs and web people do is they go, yeah, I know how to do it because I've built it. So this is how you do it. And then you put someone who's never been on your site before in front of it. And literally, like I put my mum in front of it. She's like, where do I start then? What do I do? And I've done this speech actually at an event when we went for investment. And it's quite funny because I was literally like, for every £1 I spent, I got 76p back. And they're like, that's not good, Stuart. And I was like, I know it wasn't good. So it was costing us money to win the sale. And e-commerce businesses do start like that because you have to drive the sales.
Yeah.
And then it got better and better. And now that brand, I'm glad to say, during lockdown has been insane. I did put some pictures on LinkedIn of one of the mornings when I came in and the production team said, oh, can't have been that busy online last night. It's only printed out like 150 orders. Like last night, that was the last hour. Do you want me to invest for the rest? And my warehouse is 38 meters long, and the shipping labels went down the warehouse. I'm back.
For those guys listening in, I would really implore you to follow Stuart on LinkedIn. I would say LinkedIn. Obviously, I follow you on there. And Stuart posts a lot of imagery and updates of the journey, and specifically this last 3 months when there's been some crazy order volumes. You know, that shipping labels the whole length of the warehouse and back again. You know, lorries full of branded product for well-known brands, which we'll come to. You know, fantastic. So we've got 3 core brands there then, Stuart, is that right? So we've got your print parlour, which started as like I don't want to use the word, but like a traditional print company, but obviously it's then completely, you know, really focused on material print and sort of fabric print. And I know that was something when probably, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago, we went to an expo and we'd found this fabric print stand and we went there and we were the only, no, maybe 5 years ago, we were the only one. It was like, yeah. And we had like 25 people say, where did you get that from? Where did you get that from? And then I think the next year, everybody had them. And I think everybody bought them from Stuart at that point, pretty much. I think I actually spoke to you then at that point. It was like 4 years ago. We briefly had a chat. And you see Expos now, and they're full of these fabric prints. You know, whether it's 5 meter, 3 meter, 1 meter, all the different connotations, isn't there? And then we've got Santa Sacks, which is sort of the Christmas focus. And then we've got the custom gifts. So obviously there's that thread all the way through of print. You know, obviously print, all the different angles of print. And more importantly, you've got different sort of seasonalities covered there, which is, you know, I think a lot of e-commerce stores, you know, they're focused, you know, they're ticking along maybe, you know, maybe a bit extreme, but and then Christmas comes, they've got this 4, 5, 6 week opportunity. So, you know, great example there of, you know, different times of year having different product sets, different sub brands.
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting on that because we were talking to one of our resellers today who work through API feed into our system. So we print still trade gifts as well. And they said that they do 70% of their annual turnover is in 6 weeks of Christmas.
Yeah, it's quite normal, I think. Yeah,
and it's so crazy when you sit and think about it. You're like, well, what about the other 46 weeks a year? What are you doing?
Yeah. You
only generate 30% of your income in that period.
Yeah.
But that's when all your costs are.
So
the rest of the year.
Yeah. So if I was to say to you, what would be the one thing that has resulted in your success across the board? What would you say that would be? Being
different.
Yeah.
We do it quite a lot, and a prime example was that fabric stand that you just mentioned. Actually, jumping in 2 feet doesn't always pay off, but we're kind of a young business that likes to take risks, and that's probably what makes us very different and makes us win work. Is where other people say it's impossible, you can't do it. We go, well, it is possible, and we can do it. And actually, in our office, we have a massive big wall papered. And it says it's kind of fun to do the impossible. Just to remind everyone every day, we do the impossible. When people come to us, and during COVID-19, we have had some impossible challenges.
Yes.
And they come to you for the reason that you say you'll do it and you deliver it. And that's one of the biggest things as well of our success is if you say you're going to do something, do it.
Yeah.
If you fob customers off on that, it's really hard to get nice reviews on Facebook and reviews.com and that and Trustpilot, but it's really easy to get bad ones.
Yes.
Because the first thing they do, and everyone is guilty of it, if you have a bad experience, they go and slate you straight away. You're like, that company, they didn't do that, and they gave me a cold meal. If you've had a really good meal, you don't leave a good review normally.
It's very rare, isn't it? But and they're more likely, aren't they, to leave a review, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I always encourage all my staff, especially when we're local at the minute, especially in Lincoln and any local areas where you are. If you've been out for something, always, if you've had a good meal, leave a good review. If you've had a good experience, it actually makes a massive impact on that business. Yeah. Because you might have left a really nice review in the bar, the shop or something, said thanks, they were really helpful. But actually leaving a review online actually makes a massive difference to their business.
It's a huge thing, isn't it? I think in any business, you see that proof from other people. It's all right, everyone else saying, especially like in our industry, there's a million digital marketing agencies out there. So easy, no barriers to entry to, but there's nothing better than customers saying, actually, these guys or those guys are good, rather than you having to say it all the time. So I think I like what you said at the beginning of that. Obviously, you've got 3 brands that are doing very, very well, but I think it's what you're saying there is just go out and push through, but not every time it's going to work is the reality. Yeah, but it's taking those shots, isn't it? It's taking those risks, but obviously calculated to a point. Yeah. You're working in different areas of print, but obviously underlying there is print. I'm guessing inside out, upside down, back to front of the industry. So to pivot. I'll try not to do an episode without using that word, but we're going to have to throw it in, I'm sure. To pivot, you can have not a huge entry cost potentially, because you can try stuff, can't you? You can test some products.
It's using your skill set as well, because we didn't know that we had a really talented girl who did animation who worked for us. So last year we did a little bit different, and again trying to be different is Facebook and Google and everyone that at Christmas, obviously the ad spend goes crazy. Yeah. And everything like that. So Olivia, who actually works for us, drew our new front cover to one of our Christmas catalogs. Actually drawn.
He drew that, yeah.
And drew theirs and carried the pattern onto the back.
Yeah.
But what we actually did was we did the different. We were like, right, Facebook and that's all crowded. Let's stick catalogs into actual people's doors.
Yeah.
Let's drop them onto people's doorsteps and see if it drives traffic differently that way.
Yeah.
And it's always trying to be different. We still supported that completely with an e-commerce online side of it. But you've got to balance it out across everything.
So that brings us on to the next question nicely. So you see this banded around like a lot of industries. Is this dead? Is that dead? Is SEO dead? So do you think print will ever die?
Oh, that's a hard one. Would print ever die? Do you know what? I don't think it will. I think it will keep reigniting in different directions and trying to do different things. But I definitely don't think print will just die out. Yeah. I think the traditional print on the high street might die out. Yeah. Just because the simple fact is there's lots of companies out there with massive big printers that can do it so much more cost effective because it's all automated and that, versus a little high street guy who's printing out 50 flyers for you. However, the guy on the high street for 50 flyers is probably the person, if you're wanting a more local touch, pick them up the same day, have that interaction of advice and that, because a lot of it's now online, where you talk to a computer and say, I want this, and then it goes in its little library and goes, oh, this is the response, I should say.
I actually like getting print. Obviously we're all, as you will be, however many hundreds, if not thousands of emails a day trying to get your attention. It's very hard to stand out in an inbox and on social media, Facebook ad, all the ad platforms, it's more challenging, but to get, I still subscribe. Here's one of my, this isn't mine, but this is something I subscribe to. It's a print magazine all about funnels, comes from the US, Russell Brunson. I've had this for three and a half years now. And I love when this lands on my desk, I'm like, oh yeah, it's that time of month, and it comes in, and usually I end up buying something that's associated with it or whatever, so I think I would say as well, it's like using traditional print with, the modern day marketing methods, using email, etc. But then in those sequences, because like you touched on, clients using APIs, it's very easy to work an API into a sequence, send two emails, then API off to a print company like yourself, and then day 14 send the postcard that invites them to the webinar or invites them to the to purchase product XYZ. So like any industry, you're saying it's not going to die, but it's going to move. Like you have moved in the last very short period of time. You rather than printing business cards for a living, which is don't take that the wrong way, which is where probably a lot of printers start, isn't it? Stationery, traditional print, letterheads. You've gone fabric, and then you've gone fabric. Like 10,000 flipping potato sacks, and a million miles later, or however many miles later of printed physical things. So the custom gift business, I think that's a business that I know I've seen. I've got a very good friend, or a very good friend of a friend who sort of completely stopped his career in working for a print company and went and invested in a company that provides the API for a lot of firms. Custom Gateway, I think they're called.
Yeah, I know those guys.
Yeah, Alistair. Do you know Alistair?
I don't know. I do know Custom Gateway.
Yeah, Custom Gateway, and I know, I don't see him that often. Where we usually have a golf trip every year or so, but last year we didn't. So, but last few years when I had seen him, it was like some of the scale of the growth of that industry, custom print, and obviously that's something. So tell us about custom, the custom gift business.
Yeah. So
specifically, I'm really interested personally how you've managed to sort of get these relationships with these absolutely top tier brands.
Yeah, so custom gifts is very different to a lot of brands out there. We own the master licenses. We own the licenses to not only manufacture the item under a brand of Warner Brothers, for instance, Harry Potter, Looney Tunes, all of the big names that people know and has grew up around. But we also own the rights to personalize that and make it look like it's the official brand. So, for example, Friends TV program that's now 25 years old, and now has got the actual average audience age now is between 12 and 16, which is crazy.
Wow. It's come round full circle.
Come back round, and people say, "Have you seen this Friends program?" And we're like, "Yeah, that was out when we were kids."
Yeah, my son is obsessed with it. He's 13, so bang on the nose with that. Yeah.
So Friends is coming back massively. So what we did was, when we did it, was I didn't want to be another personalization gift company. And you know what? I don't have one on my desk, but normally where you just get a mug that's been sent to you and it says Stuart. Oh, great. That is an amazing mug. Thank you. That's not what we wanted to do. We wanted to go out there and go, we want you to have a Friends cushion, for instance, with the famous Friends picture frame, but a picture of you and your mum in it with the name on it, and all within the brand, and all made in the UK, and all produced to the correct standards. So it was quite a hard job pitching that to obviously global brands, because the simple thing is that they sit there and go, well, no, why should we let you personalize it? That doesn't fit within our brand guidelines. How are you going to stop someone swearing on it? Football clubs are the worst for that, because one day the manager's the best thing since sliced bread. The next day he's an idiot and you don't want him in the club.
The scope for personalization is there,
So, and if you've got then an official, like, I don't know, Sheffield Wednesday towel holding up and it says you're an idiot or whatever the manager's name is, go away, and that, you kind of like, that's not going to go down very well. So we had to put in lots of profanity checks and everything built into the site. So when we went to them, to start with, it was kind of like banging our head against the brick wall with all the brands. They wanted personalization, but they didn't want personalization. They knew it's where the market was going, but they didn't feel comfortable with any brand, because a lot of them as well, we get to see, like, for instance, when the new Birds of Prey film came out, Harley Quinn film, we saw artwork 6 months before it goes anywhere. So we've got all this amazing artwork and we're making these concepts up and everything. And then a lot of companies would then send that out to China or India or somewhere make the products, then it comes in. And what was happening was they were then overprinting onto it or embroidering in that, but it didn't feel part of the product.
Yeah.
Where we were like, no, we'll make everything
from scratch, sort of thing. It's all part of one layer. Right.
Yeah, so we have this giant rolls of fabric come in. We print onto it. The seamstress is here, cut it, sew it, put all the legal labels and that in it, gets packaged up in its correct branding, then it leaves. So when they started seeing that, they were like, actually, the quality's good. It looks like it's a whole product because it's being made at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's going to meet the price points as well. So we don't need to worry about the price points as much.
Yeah.
So that was how we kind of started our relationship. And as soon as you start getting a few, they all follow suit fairly quick.
Yeah. Going after a couple of big name brands, putting everything you've got into it, showing the differentiator, obviously answering all their concerns. Once you get one or two, and then sort of the floodgates open and you start to get the rest. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fantastic. So listening to you obviously, I know the last 3-4 months particularly, but just, from the outside looking in, I'm not too far away. Like I said, it seems like you've always got, I think that you were on QVC not long ago. I saw you, I think that was right, and then the next thing I know, you've got a shop in Meadowhall for 3 months or 6 weeks. So much going on and so much going on at a level that is so admirable. How do you manage to sort of do everything? How do you manage yourself? Any tips you would give, people listening to the podcast now, they might struggle to ship their 50 orders a day, whereas you're doing maybe, 20,000 orders a day, whatever it may be.
Yeah. So the big thing with us is whenever we do something, we don't do it half-hearted because it's pointless doing it half-hearted. And you brought up the Meadowhall shop. That was the old Apple store. So just to put into concept of how big the store was. And when we kitted it out, we were only there for 9 weeks, was our store. It was over Christmas. But we kitted it out as if it was a full-on, full shop fit out, or walls decorated, alcohol licenses, everything was done for that shop. So it was done properly. One of the biggest things I've learned probably over the last 8 years is don't employ friends or family.
Yeah.
It sounds really weird because I actually have 3 family members work for me. And my mum is probably one of the oldest ones working with us, and also my little brother.
She's your web UX tester.
Actually, she's probably, as I call her, the ringleader of the union against me. Is how I actually say it. Because the simple fact is that when you bring your family in that in, they know how to push buttons, but also they're quite supportive at times. But what you want is you actually want people that's completely opposite to you. Because if you just have people that say yes all the time, when you're trying to do something, they just keep going, yeah, that's a great idea, and not challenge you.
Yeah.
You could end up spending a lot of money on a rubbish product range or a rubbish idea, and then go, well, it doesn't work. And then all your people around you went, well, I didn't actually think it would work, but because it was your idea.
Hang on a minute. You never said that at the time.
Yes,
Stuart, that's an amazing idea, Stuart. Stuart, that's an amazing idea, Stuart.
So I have quite a diverse team across all departments in age, in skill sets, in departments and everything. So I think as a whole, one of my biggest things I would definitely say always is make sure that you have a wide range of skill sets and people sets, because at the end of the day, even in my business, although a lot of it's now automated, still people that drive our brand forward and our idea.
Getting real experts at their discipline. So when you went into Meadowhall, you didn't sort of just rock up with some trestle tables and hope for the best sort of thing.
No, exactly.
You engaged with what you're saying, experts in that field to dress that shop or what, and get that shop ready at a level. So you're playing the proper game, and that's the same in all areas. So on your e-com side, you've got specific experts, on your print side, on your licensing side, you've got experts, I guess,
And the other thing is as well, those experts don't always have to be paid people. You may have people that have done it before and you just ask them for their advice in that. Because I know what it's like when you've got the smaller end businesses as well. Me going to get experts and everything. When I started, I had to be the expert of everything. I had to learn and go sit there reading, going, oh yeah, if I do this, I could make that work. And as time's gone on, you start bringing in people. The other thing that I do quite a lot is I come up, I'll sit awake at night and go, tomorrow we're going to do this. And I'll come in and the whole team will instantly know that I've had one of those nights, because I've come in and I'm like, guys, we're having a meeting. Let's go. Or nowadays they get a Zoom invite saying, guys are on a Zoom call.
Get your coffee down, you boys. We've got something to talk about.
Yeah, and they know it. They know it's obviously one of those nights when they're getting a Zoom invite at like 11:30 at night for 9:05. Literally that. Let's go. We're having a Zoom call.
In the early days, obviously, depending, when you're listening to the podcast, obviously you're in different stages of your business, but it's really, about reaching out to somebody that's maybe done it. Maybe, that thing that you're thinking about, dropping them a message. I get messages on LinkedIn a lot about, agency life and running an agency, starting a podcast, scaling a business, etc. And I love to help. And I think what you're saying, most people like to help, getting out, networking locally in different, if you're talking about licensing, well, I know there's a licensing event at the NEC every year, probably more than one, but I've been to another event that was on, and that was on while that was on. I think it's like the autumn fair, spring fair. They have a licensing part to that.
Yeah, and also there's actually a full licensing show at the Expos called Licensing Live, and that has every single global brand you can think of. I got stuck in a mascot parade, and so these mascots wander around, and you think of every kid's mascot in the world. A kid would have a field day in there.
Yeah.
Mascot of everything. And I was walking down an aisle and I got I think there's actually a picture on my LinkedIn, because there was literally probably 150 mascots come around the corner from all 4 directions, and I was stuck in the middle with some other people. We're being attacked by mascots. You can just imagine, get me out of it.
Yeah. So literally go into these expos that 9 times out of 10 are free. These expos, the NEC, you can find any industry that you're selling in. You can go to an expo at the NEC, and obviously there'll be dozens, if not thousands, of exhibitors, experts, talk speakers. That obviously takes a bit of confidence to get in there and go and say hello, but then go and say hello to these guys.
And the people who's at these expos as well, the people on the stands, aren't going to bite your head off or anything. They want to know about your business to see if they can sell to you as well. So going and talking to them and that, seeing what services they offer, what they do, trying to be a little bit quirky and different. They do remember you. And we've actually met some really good suppliers and partners over the time at Expos. And I think people forget how powerful LinkedIn is as well.
Yes.
It's been a little bit weirder recently with lockdown and bits like that. But and everyone in China has wanted to connect with me over the last I'm sure everyone else is getting.
So, when you're starting, just, Stuart's saying that, at the beginning, go to an expo, it's free, and then from there, you get to know who's who, and then as you scale your business and your confidence grows, you reach out to more and more people, and that's, great bit of advice there, Stuart. So, you say LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn, I think, I keep seeing you literally, it seems like a Sunday night thing. I'm watching whatever's going on and preparing for my week. And then Stuart pops up. Oh, here's a picture of the 50,000 labels waiting for the crew in the morning. Or here's the every day, over the last, I guess we're on 4 months now, aren't we really? 4 months.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to use the word pivot again. Apologies. Obviously print, there's been a lot of opportunity for print companies to create and sort of really get in front of brands with all the different PPE products. Obviously, there's a whole raft of different products, but I can see, your firm really seems to have stood out and managed to pick up some huge brands. Literally the who's who of the high street over the last, it's every week I'm seeing, the latest, So, how have you managed to sort of secure some of these real big brands, or maybe just talk us through some of the key sort of timelines in the last 4 months and how you've managed to secure brands?
So I think I probably did the same as every company owner, regardless of the size of your business. When that Sunday night came and Boris Johnson said, we're closing businesses, stay at home. And I literally went, oh, stay at home? I can't stay at home. One, I would probably kill the other half. Two, my dog will probably be walked so much and anyone who knows me knows I've got a little pug that's been with the business now for 4 years, and he's more in charge than me, to be fair. That dog would have never been walked so much in his life. And 3, I just couldn't sit back and do nothing. There was obviously things that I could do. We had big equipment here and a skill set of people that can do things.
Yeah.
So what we did was we obviously had that week where we were told to plan to shut because we're going to shut.
Yeah.
I'm sat there going, well, we're not going to shut.
No.
I'm going to work this through. So as the guidelines started coming out, we had a couple of people have to go on furlough because of medical social shielding. Yeah. I'm sat there going, God, this is going to hurt our business. And then my FD comes out with new forecast numbers, and he's like predicting like losses that are just like off the scale of losses. I'm sat there going, businesses aren't going to come out the end of this. If what you're predicting here, basically, he predicted that I would earn less in a month than what we do in a couple of days. And I'm sat there going, but all my costs are staying the same now. And they're like, yeah, because you're still going to have to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, whoa, let's think about this. The businesses can't just close. And then you also see starting to appear and everything online that the NHS are struggling for PPE and hand sanitizer and the face shields and everything like that. And I'm sat there going, and scrubs, and I'm sat there going, I've got qualified seamstresses. Yeah. I've got automated cutting machines. Yeah. I know how to source product. And I was like, this is just ridiculous. Why are they telling us to close? So we spoke to our health and safety people and that, and we put all the distancing in. And I went, right, we're going to do something. We're going to get hand sanitizer. Now, as this happened, and it's always one of those things I disagree with, is that no one in the UK could make hand sanitizer. For some reason, it was never a product that we needed. And they were slowly getting gin firms and that to convert, but they could only 200 bottles a week or something. But the NHS was using 10,000 a shift or something. And I sat there going, this is going out of hand. So I went to Europe. Yeah. Right, let's look across Europe. Europe's now in full meltdown, so nothing is coming out of Europe. You try getting PPE, and they're taking it off you at the borders. They're like, it needs to stay in the country. So I had to do that thing of going to China. Yeah. And I'm thinking, they've started this virus. It's come from China, we believe. And I'm sat there going, well, now we need to protect. We need to supply the hand gel and everything. So we did it slightly different. That we went to a factory that had what's called an EN 1500, SGS audits and that. So what we did was we basically audited the factory to make sure it met every single criteria that the NHS needed, and also other people in the UK. So we got all this paperwork done and that. I had it independent audited by American companies and that. I got it all, ordered 1.8 million bottles, which is just insane.
1.8 million bottles of sanitizer.
1.8 million bottles. I also have bottles on my desk like this.
That was your first order?
That was my first order. Because what happened was, I said to the NHS as they were opening Nightingale hospitals and stuff, I'll get your hand sanitizer because no one can get you it. Yeah. Oh, that's one of my bottles as well. I like it. That's one of my bottles. So
we had a I can't remember the case now. Is it 24, 36?
Yeah,
we had a case up about 6 weeks ago.
So it sits on my desk and you're constantly doing it. It's just become a natural thing. And that's it. Keep using it. You need to order more. I've still got some in my warehouse. Don't worry.
1.8 million ordered. So that day when you pressed the button and said, right, I want 1.8 million. That's one hell of a, I don't want to say it, but that's one hell of a toss of the coin, isn't it?
Yeah, but purchase orders were coming in at such a rate that 1.8 million was sold within about 2 weeks. Yeah. Right, so they've now made all this 1.8 million bottles of hand sanitizer, and then the crisis gets a little bit worse. We start seeing death rolls growing, and the supply chain is needing it quicker than what they thought they were going to need it. That's where it then got scary, because I have a conscience. I had a delivery date to meet, and we could meet it by doing the sea freight. But supply, NHS, key workers, supermarkets, we're all going, we need this hand sanitizer now. And I'm thinking, okay, you need it now. How am I going to get 1.8 million bottles of hand sanitizer, which is a liquid, which is flammable, to the UK?
Yeah.
So I was like, I know what I'll do. I will charter an aeroplane. So what I do, I'll be one of these. So it was a really weird conversation when you're speaking to BA, going, you've got a 737 was the first plane I was looking at in Shanghai, haven't you? And they were like, yeah, we've got about 30 of them. Like, I would like to hire that plane. And they're like, but we can't bring people. I was like, no, I don't want any people on it. I want you to fly it from Shanghai to Heathrow for me. And they're like, okay. And then they were like, but we can only get 300,000 bottles on it, and you need to do all this extra paperwork. I'm like, that's not big enough. I'm like, I need a bigger plane. So they're like, we've got a 777 jumbo. I'm like, now we're talking. And they're like, and I'm like, and they're like, oh, so you need one of them? I'm like, no, I need two. So from going from putting a container on a sea freight, which is a truck, which would have been about 8 trucks, to now chartering full 777 planes. I'm sat there going, yeah, this is getting a bit crazy now. So then the invoice comes in for it, which then when you're hiring jets, that they're not cheap, especially. I did make the joke with the air person at BA, but they didn't seem to really take me serious. That as I paid for every seat on that plane, surely I was entitled to the air mileage. Because if I chartered 600 seats, surely 6 times 4,000 air miles or whatever it was on 2 planes, I should be entitled to. Then my first class upgrades for the boxes that were on the first class seats, surely I was entitled.
Did you pay for it on your Amex though? That's the
But they refused to take my Amex card because I thought, you're not giving me the air points, I'll get them the other way. So we did that, and then it was really bizarre because I was then looking that we were going to need a 3rd plane, and BA's like, we've got no more planes. They're either locked down or they're being used. And I messaged one of my friends, again, through LinkedIn, and I'd worked with him on a couple of events. And I knew he was the health director or medical director of Virgin Group. And he dropped me a message back within half an hour. He's like, oh, your phone's going to ring. I'm like, okay, great. And he's like, and you're going to speak to the CEO of Virgin Atlantic Europe. I'm like, what? I was expecting you to pass me to a salesperson. He's like, furlough, there is no salespeople. You're going straight to the top. Yeah. So now I have the direct mobile number of Virgin Atlantic UK, but his planes were smaller that he had out there, so we couldn't use them. But during lockdown as well, the prime contacts that you make, because the lower level staff were furloughed early on, the surprising nature of the people you were talking to were board director level and everything, like instantly.
Yeah.
And it made a massive difference to...
So you air freighted in 1.8 million.
1.4 million came by air freight, and the rest came by sea.
To speed up the lead time, get them here instead of 6 weeks.
So instead of it being 5.5 weeks, it was here in 3 days.
Yeah.
Which then meant that we delivered in early, kept work going. And then we started making other quirky things like scrubs and other bits and pieces. And then that led us to looking at guidelines changing, and the big one was Perspex screens.
Yeah.
Now, these have now become like the way of life. You go to a shop, you expect a Perspex screen now. Yeah. You expect hand sanitizer on the entrance and that.
Yeah.
And these Perspex screens, what was bugging me with them was Perspex is an expensive material anyway. But supply and demand meant that Perspex went through the roof. All these little local shops, it's already being hammered, and they can now only have one customer in their shop of that.
Yeah.
It's got to be a more cost-effective way. So we made a laminated card, it is, with a Perspex inner. They have been probably our biggest selling product, not value-wise, but in volume of items that we have ever created.
Wow.
We sell on average around about 1,500 a week for the last 12 weeks.
Yeah. And like a yellow design to them, is that right?
Yeah, the yellow ones. So, but the really good thing with this was that always makes me smile with it is we put our brand on them because we created it, and that generated so many more small businesses ordering from us. Yeah. But also the big businesses were ordering from us. Yeah. So we had people like Kex, we had Laura Ashley. Every Laura Ashley store in the UK has got Asney screens in it with your print partner on there. It's such a great thing to know that we're helping the small and the big businesses, because everyone's being affected by this.
Yes.
And our mission was not to sit there and make loads of money off it or make our staff unsafe or anything like that. It was about driving the economy forward. And at the start, there was all these people on LinkedIn being their normal haters, and every business and industry gets it, kind of, you should be shut and that. But if I was shut, the NHS wouldn't have got their hand sanitizer. Neither would have all of the frontline workers that needed it. The print companies stepped up in the hour of need across the whole of the industry. And on my LinkedIn, I've shared plenty of great success stories, from making face visors where they're using their CAD cutter machines, their 3D printers, from making scrubs where they were literally bringing in fabric. And Lincoln Hospitals had some amazing scrubs that I think they should keep afterwards, because they were just amazing with like Toy Story and the camera ones and that.
Different people making their own and giving them.
Yeah, exactly. The whole nation came together and used the equipment that they could use. And a lot of the print companies and that get penalised for staying open and that. But we were frontline services, even down to floor stickers. How do you think every shop was able to keep you safe and open? If the print companies weren't there, Morrisons and that wouldn't have been allowed to open, Tesco's, Asda's, because they wouldn't have had the social distancing. They wouldn't have had the screens and that.
The education piece, I mean, I think every firm has had to buy those sort of 4 or 5 things. I know we did. We used yourself for the sanitizer. We bought screens, we bought stickers, a sanitizer, a few other bits as well. And every firm, whether that's a one-man, one shop buying one of everything or a handful, or the likes of Morrisons with however many 1,000 pop-up banners that they need, which I think I saw you.
Yeah, so that was another really exciting one. But also e-commerce businesses have had to buy all this because they're in big warehouses where they're running up and down aisles picking and stuff. They still needed it all. But Morrisons was a prime example. Bank holiday weekend back in May. Feels a long time ago now. Really nice sunny weekend, expecting record temperatures. Barbecue weather, obviously. We're in lockdown. How are the Morrisons and that going to keep the flow of people moving and keep their staff safe with restacking the shelves? So we had to make 8,000, I think it was the number off the top of my head, pull-up roller banners with all the safety rules on it, and distribute them to 456 Morrisons across the UK in 72 hours, or their Morrisons couldn't open.
Wow. Yeah.
Or they would have to follow a different protocol. So it was amazing for us. The guys at Morrisons were great. They gave us all the codes. We worked out like a delivery schedule. We had delivery vans going up and down the country. We needed to remind the nation and how Morrisons were and everything. And all the other supermarkets that you don't need to panic buy. Their supply chain was working, but just mindful of all the other people that's in the queue and that. You don't need to buy 20,000 toilet rolls. You really don't. That was like the craziest thing that I've ever seen. That we're going into lockdown and all everyone thinks about is 20,000 toilet rolls. Like,
would it be fair to say then? So obviously, traditionally, I know you'll be running ads and doing. You've got various people in your team and different agencies you work with on your digital marketing.
Yeah.
But those sort of large orders that you secured, was that more so? That is what you're saying is you do one big order and then it just became known on LinkedIn, etc., and sort of the senior management sort of network that you're involved with as well, that see that you supply Morrisons, and then next thing you know, you get a phone call from Starbucks to say, oh, can you help us? That type of thing. So
it's exactly it. So Morrisons actually came to us off the top of another order that we had done.
Yeah.
And Starbucks is the same. We're now rolling out the Starbucks hygiene stands across the UK at the minute. They're going out the door quite quick. And also every KFC in the UK, you'll start seeing these hygiene stands. The rollout has been huge of the product lines that we needed to do. Floor graphics.
Yeah.
I've never printed so many floor graphics in my life. I think our guys downstairs are sick of seeing arrows and stickers that say stay 2 meters apart.
2 meters. 2 meters is clean. Yeah.
And I think, like, again, the power of LinkedIn and knowing the people and that. We also have another massive contract at the minute ongoing that we can't name until the first delivery's gone out. But that is off the back of one of these stands, and it's a contract that's ranging anywhere between 100,000 and 1.8 million pound, and that was off of a post on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean that's just the headline right there, isn't it? Just using the platforms. I mean, some of the order volumes that are out there for these particular products right now, obviously getting in front of these major high street brands and major brands. It starts off with maybe that one-man band, that one-man shop, that one. In your instance, it's like that one day where you're thinking, what are we going to do? Right, well, actually, what we've got a warehouse full of machines and kit and raw material. What can we make? Well, we can make this small shop stand that sits on the, on a counter, and whoever's got a one-man band shop can now open safely. The customers can feel safely, and then from there, it goes into 1.8 million bottles of sanitizer getting air freighted in, and so on and so on. So that's an amazing, amazing story. That.
And I also think like LinkedIn and that, I put a post of our hygiene stands on, and it was actually quite interesting because I was talking about this with my team on Friday. That post has now had 48,000 views. I only have 6,000 people in my connection. And it's surprising the volume, that the reach and that having an engaging post as well, I find quite important. It's not always about here's a price and that. There might be a picture, actually I know there's a picture of my dog sat at the automated cutting machine, like he's running the machine, and I'm rolling up banners of the Morrisons job coming off, and it was probably 3 o'clock in the morning, and my pug was still at work with me, and he's literally sat on the stool watching the machine while I'm working. And it's showing our product, but in a subtle way. They're more interested in what my dog was doing at the office at 2 in the morning.
So in terms of like marketing strategies during the last sort of you've got this sort of 3 or 4 month period, very much you're saying LinkedIn has been great for some of the bigger orders, getting in front of the bigger sort of key decision makers of bigger brands. But if we take LinkedIn out of the equation, I know we're saying we're absolutely, what would you say, to the e-com stores that are listening? Obviously you've got multiple stores there doing a lot of orders for the last sort of 3+ years. What sort of marketing strategies would you say you've had the best results from?
So Facebook, you can't run any PPE adverts.
Yeah.
Although some people somehow or another are, but we got told off by Facebook. And we weren't even trying to profiteer. We had we were cheaper for hand sanitizer than Boots.
Yeah.
Or Superdrug. I can't remember which one exactly it was. We were trying to drive down the price.
Yeah.
We got told off for that by Facebook.
Yeah.
Thinking that we were profiteering, but that wasn't our aim at all. Now, what we would normally do in the grand scheme of things and everything is we would go to social media, Instagram and that. But we're actually going to try something again very different. And you guys are first to hear it. At the end of this month, we're actually running TV advertising.
Okay.
So for custom gifts, we're running on primetime ITV.
Oh, that's good.
And everyone instantly thinks it's going to be really expensive and stuff like that. I would urge people to look at it at the minute.
Yeah. Is there particular deals at the moment because of the way the channels of? I know I follow the stock market pretty closely. I know ITV shares are about 1/3 of what they were pre-lockdown. Yeah, so there's probably
the really interesting things are, and Channel 4, ITV, and Sky are doing it. ITV and Channel 4 are doing pound for pound match funding.
Yeah.
For the first time on airs. So every £10,000 you spend, you get 10,000 matched.
It's about half price.
So and then you can also still negotiate your rate card, which is also really good.
Yeah.
And the other one that I'm more impressed with is what Sky do. And I've had to learn a lot about TV the last couple of weeks because we have no one in our team that's an expert in TV. But Sky do something called AdSmart.
Yeah.
And it's really clever. So we could be in houses next door to each other, watching the same program, and you might watch another channel to me more than any other. So your ads would be tailored to you, just like on Facebook, by knowing what you normally watch. And we could be in the same house next door to each other, and we could be seeing 2 completely different ads.
The personalised delivery.
Yeah. And what's even cleverer is they're bringing out a new thing that's also linked then to your web, your internet access. So then they can see what you've been searching and feed it all in, kind of like how Alexa does it. And they say she never listens to you. But for some reason, I would say red sofa in my living room, and I would get an advert for a red sofa a couple of hours later. And they say it's unlinked, and I'm like, well, I've never searched a red sofa. I think pushing the boundaries on normal stuff, yes, Facebook and that's always going to deliver some sort of results in that.
Yeah.
But I do think outside of the box, the brochure was another one of that. E-com is online, but you could, that's where your sale and your transaction takes place. Getting people to your site might be very different. And Grenade a couple of years ago did a really clever marketing campaign with it to drive traffic to their website. They drove a tank through the middle of Birmingham, I think it was.
Yeah, I did see that.
And again, it's doing the outside of the box, which is going to drive your sales.
Yeah, and you would think, like, you know, obviously more and more people are watching TV at the moment, and there will be, you know, more, and then there'll be more probably negotiations to be had on deals and things like that. Yeah, okay, brilliant. So that's looking at the Sky ad smart, isn't it? Yeah. And then looking at deals to be had on sort of more the traditional channels, or the channels that you know you're targeting. So, Stuart, that has been fantastic. Lots of, you know, great, very inspiring story there. You know, from start to end. I think it's particularly this last 3 or 4 months really interesting to see. You know, some huge, big decisions been made there over the last 3 months to import, you know, to hire flipping, you know, jumbo jets. That's crazy. You know, to have the sort of confidence to do that, resilience to do that, you know, but obviously behind all that is a serious amount of due diligence, a great team, support network, you know, obviously there's a lot goes into that. You know, I applaud you. I really do. You know, that is fantastic, Stuart. So I always like to finish every episode with a book recommendation. Do you have a particular book that you would recommend to the listeners?
So this is going to be really weird. I don't read books.
Okay.
So I do this weird thing of going more onto like weird programs like Google and stuff and seeing what the latest trends and that are instead of reading books. I've never been a book person.
Yeah.
I'm more. And
podcasts and things like that.
No, I don't listen to podcasts either.
But you might do next week, and then you can listen to yourself.
I watch myself back and cringe, you know, you always do. But I think like the big ones for me are going online, and I also watch a lot of like video content.
Yeah.
I'm more of that person that will have it on in the background while I'm working. I also have quite a large screen in my office, so it's split in half. So I've like at the minute we have our video call on one side, and I've got on my other side my emails and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll be sat there working and watch it that way.
Watching videos, learning off videos as opposed to reading. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So for the guys listening, if they want to find out more about yourself and connect with you directly, obviously certain brands that are listening into the podcast that want to connect with you directly, and other e-commerce stores that, you know, maybe want to buy your products, etc., you know, where's the best place to connect with you?
Jump on LinkedIn. Expect lots of connections on LinkedIn now. And also it's great to see what other people's doing on there, because I'm quite active on LinkedIn recommending people as well. So if I know, like, for instance, over the weekend there was someone looking for a Range Rover Discovery car. There's a local leasing company that I know's got them in stock. So
point them in the right. Yeah,
and that's what it's creating a friendly network, and you never know, there might be someone in there that sells something that I want. As well myself. Yeah.
So go to LinkedIn, search for Stuart on LinkedIn, connect with him, and we'll see what happens. Well, thanks very much, Stuart. It's been